President Trump has expressed his aims of cutting back the government by dispensing with pointless organizations and representatives and by trimming consumptions to more reasonable levels. What's more, in the event that you could envision, the liberals are shocked. It shows up the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and the National Endowments for the Arts and Humanities are two organizations whose subsidizing is bound to be finished under the new budget proposal. Hollywood celebs have aroused to the reason in endeavors to mark Trump's proposed spending cuts as the worst-case scenario for arts groups. But here are the facts, however. Defunting the Corporation for Public Broadcasting is unlikely to cripple either PBS or NPR. NPR received less than 1% of its revenue from the CPB, and PBS less than 7%, according to data from 2014 reported in the Washington Post. Via the RAP, President Donald Trump made good on a long-time conservative goal in his first proposed budget Thursday morning, targeting the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and the National Endowments for the Arts and Humanities for complete elimination. Trump's budget would be out of the $445 million budget for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a relatively small source of funding for programming and broadcast operations on public TV stations and NPR radio stations nationwide, per Washington Post. The budget would also eliminate budgets for both national endowments, which stood at $148 million each in 2016, as well as $230 million for the Institute of Museum and Library Services, which supports libraries and museums. Additional cuts would affect two tourist mainstays in Washington, D.C., the Smithsonian Institution and the National Gallery of Art. Combined, the four arts organizations account for less than 0.02% of the U.S. government's $3.9 trillion budget. In 2016, the NE allocated $47 million to 50 states and 5 jurisdictions, funding that helped leverage $368 million from state governments to support arts organizations through more than 24,000 grants, according to the National Assembly of State Arts Agencies. In 2015, funding for the NE was almost one-third of what the U.S. budget allocated for military bands. Cutting financing for these offices is in all likelihood the initial phase in disposing of the loss over each level of the government, which is definitely required. The span of the government organization has become comparable with the national obligation, and if America will moderate the plunge towards economic disaster, important penances should be made. Public broadcasting and the arts and humanities will simply need to collect help from private residents, which is not hard to do. What do you think about this? Do not hesitate and write your thoughts in the comment section below. President Trump has expressed his aims of cutting back the government by dispensing with pointless organizations and representatives and by trimming consumptions to more reasonable levels. What's more, in the event that you could envision, the liberals are shocked. It shows up the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and the National Endowments for the Arts and Humanities are two organizations whose